Good evening, friends. Friends, at Sales and Distribution School, we keep on receiving one question regularly from the people ki whether distribution business is a good business, whether starting a distribution business is a good choice, whether it gives good returns. So today we are going to pull the curtains of this dilemma that many people face. So we will compare the pros and cons of distribution business with the other investment avenues that are available to any person at any given point of time. So, as friends, you know that any investment avenues has got certain aspects attached to it, like what will be the return on this, on the money investment, what will be the risk of that investment, and what will be the personal involvement in that investment, and what will be the exit. Suppose the investment doesn't work out, then how can we exit that investment, and the goodwill. So we'll evaluate different investment avenues on these parameters. So what are investment avenues? Let me be very clear that for the sake of this video, we are taking very conventional investment avenues that a normal person thinks while investing his money. A person can invest his funds into property to get a good investment, to get a good return, or a person can invest the funds like with him or her into bank for FDs, or a person can invest into share market, and the last choice, a person can start a distribution business. So we will evaluate these four different conventional investment avenues against these parameters. I am not saying that only these four avenues are for investment, but most of the people, whenever they get funds, they try to get the return out of their investments by resorting to one or more of these avenues, conventional avenues. So let's start with return. Property. In property, definitely the return is high over a period of time. When the property there is slump, if there is slump, then the return may be less, but normally it is high. Risk. In property, risk is high. Property may go up or property may come down. Personal involvement. In property, once you buy a property, once a person buys a property, then his personal involvement comes down. But still he has to remain invested in his property decision to know whether the property prices are moving up or down. So personal involvement is, we will say, neutral. Exit. Whenever you invest into property and if you require funds, suppose if you require funds for contingency, then you want to sell the property, then it is not very easy to sell the property all of a sudden, because once you do the panic selling, then you will not realize the good value for your property. To exit out of property is tough. Goodwill, there is no kind of goodwill into the property. If you buy a property, you sell it after some time on profit, even then you don't get much goodwill into it. Now we'll come to bank. In bank, the returns are okay. It is not very good, because the returns are just neutral. Risk is very less. Because risk is less, so returns are neutral, means they are very less as compared to property. And personal involvement is nil. Once you get the FD done, you sit at your home and take the interest. But the return here is how much? Maybe FD 9 to 10%. Even for that, for senior citizens. I am taking the maximum interest rate of 10 years, above 7-8 years for senior citizens. So on your funds invested, you get only 9 to 10% per annum. Risk is less. That is why return is low. And the personal involvement is zero. You do the FD and sit properly. Exit is easy. Whenever, as and when you require money, you can get your FD in cash and get the money. Goodwill again is nil. Then share market. In share market, definitely returns are very high. It is very dynamic market and very gamblesome. The returns can be very high. It can move upwards of 15%. I will take it on the positive side that the shares are appreciating. So you get a return of average of 15% per annum. Risk is very high. The market can crash anytime. Risk is high, very high. Personal involvement is again high. You have to keep a tab on the market, where the shares are moving, when you should sell, when you should exit, and you have to read a lot of financial material if you really want to make this 15% of money. So personal involvement is high. Exit, it is very easy. Whenever you want to sell the shares, you can sell and exit the market. And goodwill, here again there is no goodwill. You don't and you cannot make any goodwill that the person has earned so much money. Of course, if you are working as a share broker, then you can get a goodwill. Then that whenever some person takes the advice of this person, then his money appreciates. But here we are talking of your investment as a lay share market investor. Then we come to the final investment avenue that we are considering here, distribution of FMCG product or any product. Here the returns, if you manage the business, if a distributor manages the business very well, the return can always be upwards of 30% per annum. This I am taking at bare minimum level. If the person is very careful about managing various aspects of the business, risk is nil, because distribution businesses of the products which are always in demand. Personal involvement is high. If a distributor gets invested into his business personally also, then he can always get returns more than 30%. But if he delegates the running of distribution operation to third party or his managers, then his return may be 30% or less. Personal involvement definitely improves and increases the returns on the business. Exit is very easy. As and when you require the funds, you can put the stocks into the market, get money, and cash your all investments and use money for whatever purposes you need it. Now comes goodwill. Now, distribution business is the only business where a distributor also builds up his goodwill in the market. A distributor, by the virtue of the nature of his business, he always gets good feedback from the market. He builds good relations into the market, and he gets a deep understanding of the market. Which retailers are poor paymasters, which markets are doing well, which markets do well, which product moves fast, and what are the market dynamics. So because of all these reasons, a person into the distribution business always builds up a goodwill. So as and when a distributor exits the market because of X, Y, Z, whatever reason, he can always encash his goodwill. He can always take money from the person to whom he sells the business as some amount against his goodwill. So distribution business is a good investment avenue. So the persons who are serious about involving themselves personally into the distribution business, then they can always get returns upwards of 30%. But they have to manage very well, and they have to take care of all the stocks. So in considering on all these parameters, a distribution business is a very good choice. But I will advise, don't get into the distribution business just blindly. Keep paying attention to the fundamentals. So keep watching our YouTube channel. If you like this video, then please like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you. All the best.